Hi guys, I'm B-Boy. Welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. Remember, if it's the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Okay guys, in today's video I want us to talk about the illegal Chinese buildings that are in Jamaica. We all know how Chinese have really invested so much in Jamaica. They have really taken over Jamaica, and a lot of people are asking themselves, is China slowly colonizing Jamaica? Kindly have a look at this clip and then you come back for more discussion.
So, as you guys know, Chinese and the Chinese nationals are very heavily, let me say that again, invested in Jamaica, invested in our tourism industry, invested in our roads. They're invested in every single thing in Jamaica, quite frankly. And a lot of people have been saying, including myself, for 2 years now, that Jamaica is going to be colonized by China very, very soon. And when these Chinese nationals come to Jamaica, all they see is dollars and cents. And they feel like they're above and beyond the law in Jamaica, and above and beyond the law that Jamaican nationals have to follow. And it's very, very disheartening. Not disheartening, it's very, very crazy to see the things that they get away with and what Jamaican people cannot in their wildest imagination get away with. But because they're Chinese national and they're heavily invested in Jamaica, they get away with a lot of stuff. So let's get into this article, and it says, according to Oates, the Chinese developer it took the threat of court injunction to get a Chinese developer who had defied several stop orders from Hanover Municipal Corporation to finally comply with the order to cease construction on a building he is erecting in Lucy, the parish capital. And if you guys don't know, I went to Racine High School. That's my alma mater. Love me some Russia. Love me some Russians, okay? That's my school. Big up to all the D-Cup player them. Go and do the thing. It says, the building, which is being constructed on Main Street in Lucy, opposite Texaco service station, a few meters away from the municipal building, has been a symbol of defiance since the developer was served with the first stop order. The Chinese developer and the developer of the Rio Port Marley Limited in Negril were both served with cease and desist orders in early October with regards to breaches of the identified by representatives of the HMC of their representatives' projects. The developer of the Rio Port Marley obeyed the orders of divisions, but the Chinese developer chose to disregard the HMC's orders and continue to build. Wow. Wow. Ain't that something? We observed that the building by the Chinese developer, when is in the middle of the town, was still being worked on despite the order to stop. So we went there and met with the developer, and he was warned in no uncertain terms that if he did not stop the building immediately, we would be moving forward with our legal options, and one of which is to get court injunction to stop the building, said Greg Oates, manager of the compliance department. According to Oates, the Chinese developer has been building contrary to the approved plans of his building. If you hear somebody in the background, I have my son here. Instructed to get reports and new architectural drawings for the building, which he was told to HMC for the viewing and consideration for approval. Oates pointed out that during the visit he made with the team of HMC officers on Friday, November 2nd, 2018, it was noticed that the work on the Chinese developer's building had finally stopped, ending the need to pursue legal action. So the only reason why this Chinese developer actually stopped building this building that he was illegally building, because he didn't have the plans for it, he needed to redo his plans and get approval, was because he was forced. They were saying that they're going to take legal actions, and that's why he did what he did. That's why he stopped. So it's very ironic that Jamaican nationals can't get away with these things in Jamaica, else we get locked up with the quickness, else we get sent to court with the quickness. We are in prison, okay, by 6 p.m. that day. But these Chinese nationals are able to come to our country, develop whatever building they want, develop whatever hotel they want, and they get away with doing so because they are of Chinese descent. And Chinese nationals and China are in the pockets of Jamaican government. So they get away with a lot of stuff. When me say a lot, I mean a lot. And Jamaican nationals can't get away with this stuff. So comment what your thoughts are in the comment section. Do you think that these Chinese nationals feel like because China is in the pockets of Jamaica's government that they can get away with anything they want, when Jamaican nationals can't in their wildest dreams or wildest imagination get away with these stuff? And do you think that if they didn't threaten this man with a court-ordered injunction to stop the building, he wouldn't have stopped?
Please explain how China has strategically taken over control of numerous African countries and Jamaica without the use of military force. What will their domination mean long term?
Great question. I'll pause because it bothers me when I look at Africa and the Caribbean islands. And I just came back from Aruba, and I'll be going later on this year to Martinique, Curacao, and back to Suriname in South America. But it bothers me when I look at the history of how we fought for liberation followed by independence in the Caribbean, only to hand that independence back over to another race of people. So we fought for freedom from the white man, and now we're handing over that freedom to the yellow man. When I was in Jamaica, 2015, I keynoted National Heroes Week, Irie FM and Ocho Rios and Marcus Garvey's back, me and Muta Baruka, actually. And while I was in Jamaica, I heard all these rumblings about the Chinese. And I've been to Jamaica before, and I've seen the Chinese. But in studying what they have done since my last visit, I was astounded and appalled to find out that they had made so much inroads into controlling and influencing the infrastructure of the Jamaican people. The Chinese built a road from Kingston, one side of the island, to the other side of the island. And in exchange for the roads that they built, the Jamaican government, unless this has changed since then, gave the Chinese total control over the toll money that will be made by people using the Northwest or East-West Highway. Why would you give a foreign power complete monetary control of the tolls on this road that you know half of Jamaica going to be using? You're talking millions of dollars of revenue you're giving to the yellow man just because he built the road. In addition to that, the Chinese are building it's probably done by now. They were building at that time 2 schools, and they were bringing Chinese educators over to help the Jamaican people educate black children. They built the Children's Hospital, which is supposed to be largely staffed with Chinese. They also gave the Chinese total control of all tourism on both sides of that highway that goes from one side of the island to the other. I was also told that they gave the Chinese the right to drill in natural rainforests in the Jamaican on the Jamaican territory for Chinese exploitation. They'd given them tax abatements, and they also purchased if I'm not mistaken, the main port of Jamaica
All right, they own the port.
is owned by the Chinese. Exactly. If another race owns your port, that means they control what's coming in. They control what's going out. What about the drugs? What about the guns? What about the COVID? You don't know what them people bringing in. And you mean to tell me that the Chinese care so much about Jamaican people that they're not going to educate our kids and take care of their health? Chinese don't care about black folks. Go to China. Go to China and see how they treat black people in China. So to me, what I think this is the government of Jamaica, like so many African governments, so many other Caribbean governments have done. They've gotten in bed financially with the Chinese. The Chinese have studied the way the white man has practiced neocolonialism throughout Africa. And the Chinese has learned that these black leaders don't really care about their people. They're all about their pockets. So I'm going to do what the white man did, but I'm going to do it one time better. I'm going to offer them double the money. You let me take over this land right here. I'll get the white man offering you $1 million. I'm offering you $3 million. And I'm going to build you a retirement home. And I'm going to pay for all your kids to go to college in China. You follow what I'm saying? And I'm going to give you a private military. So the Chinese have basically become neocolonialists 2.0. They're outdoing the Europeans. You follow me? And they're giving Caribbean and African leaders offers that they can't refuse. And guess what? When you abdicate on that loan that they give you, because all this is loans. These are not handouts. It's all loans. When you abdicate on the loan in that contract, you have to give them large concessions of land and large concessions of your economy. There's an African country right now. Is it Uganda? There was an African country who defaulted on their loan to the Chinese, and they now own their national airport. I forget which, they own the airport now because they couldn't pay back the loan. The Chinese know what they're doing. The problem we have as African people is we tend to think anybody who's not white is a friend of ours. Nobody is our friend, not the Arab, not the Chinese, not the Latino, except the African Latinos who identify with us, not the East Indians, not the Native Americans. We don't have friends. But black people have been seduced into this multiculturalism, which says the brown man is your friend, the yellow man is your friend, the red man is your friend. No, they're not. Black people don't have no friends. And my greatest fear about Chinese neocolonialism 2.0, my greatest fear about Chinese neocolonialism 2.0 is when the time for revolution comes, because there will be a second revolution because you got to get rid of the Chinese. You're going to have to fight 10 times harder. When you fought to get the white man out in the 60s, in the 40s, in the 50s, it was a little easier because he don't have the numerical strength. The white man had to use other black people in his armies to fight blacks because they're only 10% of the world. They don't have enough. China is the most populous country on the planet Earth. They have 1 billion people, not to mention their reserves around the planet, okay? Don't get me wrong, African people, we're 2 billion. We're the biggest. The problem is most of us identify something other than black, which reduces our numbers. I'm not African. I'm multiracial. I'm not African. I'm Latino. I'm not African. I'm Samoan. You follow? So we are disintegrated based on these names. Here's the point that I'm making. Because the Chinese have the technology, because the Chinese have the manpower, the second war for African independence, the second revolution for African independence against Chinese neocolonialism 2.0 is going to be 10 times as bloody, 10 times as long, and it's going to require the sacrifice of 10 times as many people. We will not be able to throw them out of Africa and throw them out of the Caribbean as easily as we did the whites. And the whites wasn't easy. That was a hell of a war. So just multiply that by 100, and that's what we're going to have to deal with the Chinese. The worst thing we're doing is giving them all this, and it's being done through the politicians. The politicians are doing it. But here's 3 things that keeps Africa enslaved to the Chinese and the white man by virtue of their politicians. Number 1, we have been distracted in America, the Caribbean, Africa, all over the world. It's a Pan-African problem. We have been distracted from development with democracy. Everybody's focusing on who to vote for. You're not looking at the conditions. What's going to change whether he wins or he wins? Because guess who's financing both of them? The same people stealing your oil. Who's financing both of them? The same people stealing your gold. Who's financing both of them? The same people stealing your coltan. You follow me? So democracy is a joke They play on black people to make you think you can have radical transformation without revolution. The reason the white man pushes democracy globally so hard is if there's ever a breakdown in the black man's confidence in democracy, the only alternative is revolution. So that's number one. Democracy is a distraction from development. Number two, when I travel, especially Africa, but it's true in the Caribbean also, black people are more concerned with their tribe being in control than they are with liberation from foreign control. Are you following me? I've seen it. So when the elections is coming up, it's not about freeing us from white supremacy or Chinese imperialism. It's about, are my people going to be the president? Is somebody from my tribe going to be the prime minister? And because they're more concerned about tribal imperialism than African independence, this democratic scheme that they run on black people continues because we're so petty and so small in our thinking. I just want to make sure his people don't get the presidency. I'm not even looking at the bigger picture. The white man knows this. The Chinese know this. So they come in, exploit, finance both sides, so no matter who wins, they get all the resources. And then the third issue is most African leaders and Caribbean are foreign educated. They go to Britain for their education. They go to France for their education. They go to Belgium. They come to America for their education. And what did Dr. Carter G. Woodson say in Miseducation of the Negro? The college-educated Negro is seldom of any use to his race because the education he gets is an education that takes him away from identification with his people. So most of our African and Caribbean and American leaders are Negropean. They have an African body, they have a European mind. So the white man and the yellow man are controlling the black man through remote control by virtue of conscious control of the way that he thinks. The entire thought process of the African leader, there's a few exceptions, but for most of them and the Caribbean, the entire thought process is that of a white man. How can we?
Hi guys, welcome back again. I hope you have watched the full clip of this lady and Dr. Omar, and you have all heard what they have said. Let's talk about how this lady is saying how there is so many illegal building in Jamaica, illegal Chinese building, whereby these Chinese are just taking advantage of all the Jamaican people and are taking advantage of the government of Jamaica. They are just going in there, investing a lot, building a lot of buildings, whereby they come back to the government, whereby they tell their government to pay them high amount of money. Look out how they are constructing roads, and they are being given tenders to build those roads, and they are charging a lot of money. So it's high time for the Jamaican government to change this scenario, whereby they should stop allowing these people to come into the country because they are just taking advantage of them. And it will reach up at a point whereby Jamaica will be fully colonized by Chinese. You have seen how they have taken over. Look at that scenario whereby they are taking over the port of Jamaica. Talk about how the drugs which are coming into Jamaica. Talk about the weapons, and that's why the reason whereby there is a lot of crime and gang in Jamaica, whereby they are just getting this weapon for free. They are just getting this weapon easily. They are just getting these drugs easily, whereby they are selling them to young youths, and that's what lead to these youths becoming more and involving in crime. And that's why a lot of Jamaican parents decide to raise their children in other countries. That's why the Jamaican parents have decided to take their children, let's say, to a place like US, so that they can be educated there, because they feel that the country like US is so safe and their children will be not explode to more drugs or weapons. They feel like in US there's more opportunities for job, and it's high time for the Jamaican government to reduce these Chinese people who are coming into Jamaica, because they have really taken over. Look at how these Chinese, if the Jamaican has to build a school, it has to go and get some teachers from China to come and teach these children. How can a Chinese teach our Jamaican children. It's high time for us black people to know that these white people are not our friend. All they do is just they want to benefit from us. Look at how they are really investing a lot in our countries. They have seduced our African leaders, and they have put them into their pocket, whereby the African leaders are being seduced and being fooled by a small amount of money. That's what they lead them to, selling our resources to these Chinese people. And look at this now, whereby these Chinese people, if they come into our land, they are being allowed not to pay tax for like a period of 5 years, whereby a local people, if you have to start a business, you have to pay tax. Why do such these opportunities don't be given to our local people? It's high time our African leaders and leaders of Caribbean to be serious with our country, because they should stop this thing whereby they're just being convinced by these Chinese people. Yeah, we know Chinese people are really investing a lot. Yeah, maybe they are creating job opportunities into our country, but how can they create this job opportunity into our country, but they are paying us local people low wages? It's high time for our leaders to change this scenario, whereby they have to come with strict rules to prevent these people from maybe ruining our country. And it will reach at a point whereby these Chinese will colonize all these countries, whereby if they give you loan and you refuse to pay it, they will take over your land, and there's nothing you will do. They will just take over your land, and that will lead to going back to colonial system. And these Chinese have realized that a lot of African countries have a lot of mineral to invest in it, so they come and they put themselves into that position whereby they can even convince our leaders to take those lenders to mine those minerals, and at the end they are the one who are benefiting a lot. Go back to a country like in Uganda. The president came out with the rule whereby there will be no mineral that will go out of Uganda without being refined, and that has led to creating a lot of job opportunities in Uganda country, and it will be slowly developing. And I will really urge our African leaders to follow the lead of this African leader, Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim Traore is removing all colonial system in his country, and that has led to his country developing and going far, because he's removing bad colonial into his country. And a lot of African leaders should follow his lead, because it's a good thing, and that will lead to his country developing and having good roads, good school, because he cares for his people. He cares what people want, and this type of a leader that's know what his people really want. So guys, remember, if it's the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to share. Thank you for your time. Let me see you in the next video.